Thank you very much, Mayor. I have mixed news to report to you today. We are seeing an increase in the weekly case count, but we're seeing more testing and a similar percentage of people who are tested that are testing positive. Here are the numbers. Since this time yesterday, we've identified 84 new cases of the coronavirus infection in Philadelphia residents, bringing us to a total of 32,432 since the beginning of the epidemic. Now, the past week that ended last Saturday, August 15th, by the date in which the test was run in the laboratory, we averaged 122 cases per day. That's an increase from 108 cases per day the week before that. If you've been following these weekly numbers, you may notice that last week I reported that number being slightly less. I think I said 105 or 106. Some of the laboratories send their data to us late, and so some of the past week results, it takes us a while for us to get all of them. That 122 cases a day is similar to the 124 cases per day we saw 2 weeks earlier. As we've seen in the past, the new cases are still predominantly younger people. More than 50% are under the age of 40. Last week, we averaged 4.0% of people who tested were testing positive. Now, we have some delays in laboratory reporting, particularly this week, and so that percentage may rise in the next few days. But it's very similar to the 4.1% that tested positive the week before that. We have 0 new deaths to report today. The total number of deaths since the beginning of the epidemic from coronavirus is 1,717. We're running just above 7 deaths per week, or just more than 1 death per day in recent weeks. We often hear about the deaths in batches, though, so we don't hear about them every single day. On testing, we have some good news on that. We are increasing the number of people who are being tested. We're over 3,000 tests in the past week. And we're seeing some improvements in the delays in reporting results of people who are being tested. Across all of our sites, the average delay now is 2.0 days between the time of the sample collected and the time in which a person has received the results. The one laboratory that has been delayed in the past, Quest, had a delay of more than 7 days. They're now 4.8 days, which is still too long, but it's clearly moving in the right direction. If people want to know where they can get tested, they should go to our website, www.phila.gov/testing. The map on that site there, which shows all the testing site, has been updated to show more information. In particular, it now shows where children can be tested, because I know that many people have questions about where children can be tested. Across the region and across the state of Pennsylvania, like Philadelphia, case counts have not changed much in the past week. We appear to have stabilized. In the United States as a whole, case counts are still very high, but they are declining, decreased about 16% in the past 2 weeks, according to data as tracked by the New York Times. So that's where we are with the epidemic. I thought I would take some time now to just update people on where we are with vaccination. There really is exciting progress on vaccination. Vaccines are now being tested. Now there are nearly 40 different vaccines that are being tested on humans. 3 of those that are the farthest advanced in the testing process are now being tested for safety and effectiveness in tens of thousands of people. One vaccine made by the pharmaceutical company called Moderna started their trial, their last phase trial on July 27th. They're giving the vaccine to 30,000 people across 89 different sites in the United States. Another vaccine made by a company called BioNTech, which is a German company, also launched their trial on July 27th. They hope to vaccinate 30,000 people in the United States, Argentina, Brazil, and Germany. And then there's the vaccine developed by the University of Oxford and now working with the pharmaceutical company called AstraZeneca. They have started their last phase trial in England, India, Brazil, and South Africa. And while that trial goes on, they are optimistic enough that it's going to be shown safe and effective. The production of the vaccine has already begun. Now, in addition to those, there are 2 other vaccines that were developed by Chinese companies that are in their final trials in Brazil, Indonesia, and the United Arab Emirates. And while this is all going on, these very important studies to show the safety and effectiveness of vaccines, recently the Russian government announced that it would start using its vaccine in October without adequate studies on the safety and effectiveness. The Chinese military in China may be doing the same with a very similar vaccine. Now, using a vaccine that has not been adequately tested to a general population is something that we don't do in the United States, and I don't think anyone should do. People should not be given a vaccine outside of a research study unless it is proven to be safe and effective. Here in Philadelphia, we will wait until we have those studies to demonstrate that vaccines are safe and effective. But I am optimistic. I do expect that we will have vaccine that is proven safe and effective to offer sometime in the first few months of 2021. We may, in fact, have more than one vaccine at that time that we could be using. Now, as we approach our thinking about delivering vaccine to people, I've heard two concerns that are to a certain extent in conflict with each other. First, I've heard concerns that more people will want this vaccine than can get it. Then I've heard that people will be afraid that the vaccine is not safe and they won't be willing to get it. To a certain extent, those two concerns will actually balance each other out. There's no question in the beginning, with whatever vaccine is first proven to be safe and effective, there will be limited doses available. And so we will set a priority for who gets those vaccination on the people who need it the most, so that we can save the most severe cases and prevent the most deaths. Now, there are already national expert groups that are looking at this to make recommendations on who would be the highest priority groups. And there'll probably be something along the lines of this. First, people who are medically vulnerable, such as elderly people, people with chronic medical conditions, for example, nursing home residents. The second group would be people who might spread infection to those medically vulnerable people. They're caregivers, for example, the medical staff at nursing homes and medical staff at hospitals. Now, that's what would happen at first. Then, as more doses become available, the vaccine will be opened up and made available to others at low risk and ultimately everyone. But because the virus also affects minority populations harder, at every step, we will make sure that they're particularly available to African Americans and other groups that have been most impacted by the virus. So how and where will we offer the vaccine? Well, likely it'll be through a combination of sites, nursing homes, doctors' offices, pharmacies, community clinics, and even freestanding vaccination sites. The first vaccines will likely require 2 different doses, and that will require tracking of those doses in individual people. At the same time, we need to track the doses of the vaccine itself, because we don't want to waste any vaccine when it's going to be in short supply at the beginning. So to do that tracking, any site that's offering vaccine will need to be connected to our Central Philadelphia Immunization Registry. That's an electronic computer database of vaccinations of Philadelphia residents. It's in place now. We're using it for other vaccines now. We can build on that. We're beginning now planning on how to connect those sites that will be offering the vaccine to that immunization registry if they're not already connected. Now, there's much to be worked out, but still, it's exciting to be thinking about through this right now, because ultimately this is the way to end this epidemic. In the meantime, let me remind everybody that the best tools we have, the ones we have in front of us right now, using masks. To remind people, everyone should be wearing a mask when around other people. The mask use is important now as it ever has been. The second thing is to remind people that this virus is particularly risky to medically vulnerable people, people over the age of 65 or people with chronic medical conditions. If you have those, you should stay home as much as possible. Avoid contact with your relatives and caregivers who themselves are out and about and might be bringing the virus into your home. If you need to be exposed to those people who are out and around the home, or that are out and about, make sure that they're wearing a mask and you are wearing a mask. More information and all of our data is at our website,